Just fresh.
Wow.
That new trade smell still around this one.
It's still digesting.
We're learning about LaChance. We don't know much about the other prospects. It's a St. Louis pick, but it's still a second. I guess it's Trent Frederic leaving Boston. Like, we all kind of like the player. He's got some stink to his game. He plays hard. He was, you know what he was? He was a good Bruin. Yeah. And I feel like he'll be a good Oiler. But is this what the Oilers needed? It feels like maybe, again, they've gone to the forward well when maybe there's some glaring holes. Not glaring. There's maybe
need elsewhere?
Issues somewhere else. Yeah.
So you would have Rhett played against his old man, Scott LaChance.
Yeah.
So,
but is it LaChance?
Yeah, in Canada, LaChance. America, Chance.
You just
take us over, Frank. You got to let us know how to pronounce these things.
Well, considering they're all from the U.S., I'd say we're pretty good with LaChance. So so look, here's the interesting part about this deal for the Oilers. One, I think it solves a need. They needed someone with size and a little bit of a different element, and someone that could skate. So they bring that in, and now they haven't touched any of their two other avenues to make another deal. One, we don't have a determination yet on Evander Kane because both the Bruins and the Devils retain money. It actually only chews up $500 and some thousand bucks. They had $1 million in cap space, so they don't need to go. They didn't touch the LTIR money yet for Kane. And two, if they wanted to, and they don't want to do something with Kane, they could still trade a piece off of their roster, dollar in, dollar out, and make something happen that way. So this hasn't closed off any avenues. And even further than that, there's a thought out there that depending on how long Trent Frederic is out, which is week to week, could he be on LTIR for the rest of the season potentially, and then activate him for the playoffs? I think that's a bit of a long shot, but the point is the Oilers made an improvement and kept their powder dry for some other things, except for the assets that are out the door, the second, the fourth, and LaChance.
So get us up to speed on Kane, because I know people are saying, oh, he's been hurt and he's going to get healthy at some point, but it gets more interesting than that because he just lost some trade protection to a lower level. He seemingly wants to get some games in before the playoffs, and they probably want to game the system and use the LTIR space.
Well, I think they would do that if they had a player that they were comfortable in knowing that he would be a willing participant in that.
Right.
And there's no bigger wild card in the NHL than Evander Kane. So I don't think they feel real comfortable about the situation. If they go through this process and trade Evander Kane's LTIR money, what happens if he wakes up on March 27th and he says, you know what? I feel like $5.1 million today. I'm going to play. I want to play. And I'm going to find a doctor, second opinion, whatever it might be, that's going to clear me to play.
Yeah.
Well, if the Oilers went out and spent that money, then now what? You've got to make a trade post-trade deadline and attach first-round picks and trade, just for math's sake, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins off of your team just because Evander Kane has woken up and decided that he's going to push your buttons today and he wants to play.
Sounds like a good team guy.
Sounds like a guy that's been around out of Buffalo, Winnipeg, and San Jose. But
we should use it. We could use
right.
And so if you're going to move Kane, which we're sort of circling around that being a potential, he's owed over 5 for 1 more year. Is that an asset you get something back for? Or is that something you have to staple an asset to get rid of?
It's an asset, given what everyone knows what you want to do. You have to staple an asset to in order to move, which again, just further complicates things for the Oilers. Do you really want to pay to move him when, if he does come back, whether it's regular season or playoffs, the guy could actually be a huge difference maker for you and exactly what you need if you're the Oilers on the ice.
Or injured the first game back. It's a wild card, isn't it?
This doesn't sound managed well. Like going back to the offseason.
Well, and they're not.
We need a guy that can skate and has size.
That was Holloway. That's a guy that can skate and has size.
Skinner? Let's get Skinner. Makes no sense. And I'm happy for it. Go Oilers.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
You got some breaking news, Frank? What are you looking at here?
Yeah, so the Montreal Canadiens have agreed with Jake Evans on a 4-year extension. That takes the number 4 player off of my trade targets board. 4 times $2.85 million the team has just announced.
4 times 2.85. Look at Frank go. This is amazing.
Attaboy, Frankie boy. I didn't realize that that Frederic was injured. Obviously, I didn't know he was going to be traded today either. But it's another guy. It's not as much in terms of salary saving, but you can LTIR this guy.
Well, you wouldn't have eaten all that salary if you're just going to LTIR him, though, would you? I don't know. Maybe you had to get in. It's with Kane's situation is confusing.
They have to leave themselves some wiggle room to get some other deals done, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't get the salary and then all of a sudden a goalie deal, what is there a goalie deal for the Oilers to make out there? It seems like John Gibson's name has kind of risen to the top of that list, and I apologize because I know you're feverishly tweeting and getting.
I don't see John Gibson as a fit anywhere. One, I think there's a super limited market, and he makes too much. And for whatever reason, the Ducks, this is why he's still there, have been hell-bent on thinking they're going to get something in return for him.
Right.
I don't see it. I certainly don't. For all the reasons we just talked about in Edmonton, I definitely don't see it there. The only other team I think that's somewhat interested in a goalie is Carolina, and only for cheap. They don't spend on a goalie as a free agent. They're certainly not going to pay assets and then take on this cap hit from Anaheim in order to do it. So I don't even have John Gibson on my trade board because I just don't think he's an authentic candidate to move. It's the same reason why I took off Ivan Provorov in Columbus with their playoff push and go through. There's some guys that just don't make any sense.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.